Hello, guys, welcome back. This is Goats on Goal podcast. So, where we talk about Arsenal football, the Premier League in general, and it's a wonderful episode that you're going to see my face more. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for the new subscribers who have joined me, people who are engaging with my content, the followers that I get on X, where we exchange views here there. And since it's Friday and we are heading into the international break, of course, there are going to be more games that are going to be played, and they're going to be, some interest to see what is going to, how the table is going to move. And I'm just from watching Bournemouth versus Fulham, where, Anton Semenyo decided to carry the team to a win. They actually scored a really good fast goal, a solo goal, where he went to the byline, near to the corner and scored against Leno, and he scored also a counter attack versus the third goal. So it was a good win for them. They jump up to second place now, and it's getting interesting now because at some point, these points are going to matter in the league, and getting them as early as now puts you in a very good position to actually push for European places. You can push for other cups. It gives you the momentum, you know and going on to the fixtures, I'm just going to read you the notable fixtures that are going to happen from tomorrow and Sunday. We have the early kickoff. Of course, we have Leeds versus Tottenham Hotspurs. I don't know how they're going to perform because if there's one thing that I really enjoy is watching Spurs lose, and that is basically what I want to see. I don't know how easy it's going to be for Leeds, but I guess they're going to give them a good game, and mostly the early kickoff matches don't really end well, especially for these bigger teams. We saw Man United lose last week, and against Brentford. Now we have Leeds versus Spurs. Hopefully they're going to perform well. My prediction, I think, if Spurs really give out a good match and they decide to give out the game, maybe a draw is a fair result. But I don't think Leeds are up to par with the Premier League as it stands. Yes, maybe they're going to give them a performance, but with Thomas Frank, and if he sorts out his creating issues, creation issues with his team. I haven't watched so many Spurs games, but from what I'm reading from Spurs fans is that he's really defensive as much because Spurs finished 17th last year, so it really makes sense to them to to make sure they close up their defense and be able to create goals. So they have some good players like Kudus, they have Richarlison, they have Paulinho, who's actually coming up with some really big goals in the game. They have Sam. So yes, they are going to find their ways. So I hope they draw, but I think it won't be an easy win for Spurs, but they have to get it over the line so that they can be able to keep up their European ambition next season. They don't have to finish 17th again. It's going to be really bad for them. Then the next game that the majority of of fans love to hate watch is Manchester United versus Sunderland. Now, Amorim is under a lot of pressure as it stands. This we saw Graham Potter lose his job. We saw Nuno lose his job. This season already, it's been barely 2 months, and he seems like to be the next in line to lose his job if he does not perform well. And I bet the board, the Ratcliffe, and the guys at Manchester United are looking at him and like, yo, you have to rack up these points early. You have to make sure that the points are getting in the bag, and he's been performing really poorly. And to be honest, I don't think he's going to survive in Man United for long because Man United is one of those big clubs, and we've seen so many coaches. Just even a coach like Mourinho was fired because of pressure. We've seen so many coaches lose their jobs at Man United because of the size of the club and the expectations they have. Of course, nobody's expecting them to win the league right now. They're out of the Carabao Cup already, so they are looking at the FA Cup and how they can be able to climb up the table because they finished around 14th or 15th last season, and that is not right. And they're not even playing in Europe anymore. They were eliminated in the Carabao Cup. They are not playing in any other competition, so they're basically playing one game a week. On the flip side, Sunderland, once they've been promoted, they made a few signings. Granit Xhaka is their captain right now. And to be fair, they've performed really well. They are a really good defensive side. They won last week versus, I think it was Nottingham Forest. Yes, they won against Forest last week. And now they're going to Old Trafford, and they are, they have some really, really good players. They are very good defensively. They attack together, they defend together. They have a young goalkeeper who's actually doing very well. So Sunderland fans will be looking at this game like, yo, hey, we can get something in this game. And nowadays, Old Trafford isn't really a ground that anybody fears anymore, because teams just go there, rack up points, and move on. We also went there, and it wasn't really an easy game, but we made it a point of winning and getting out with 3 points. So yes, Man United have to win this game. Okay, so Man United does well against these guys coming from relegation, but however Sunderland is performing, they have to find a different way to perform. They really do, because if they don't, they're going to be in really, really big trouble. So yes, I think Man United is going to win, but if anything goes wrong and the players decide not to turn up, well, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day for those players. Players like Bruno Fernandes, Zaxi, and all them players. They need to find ways to win. Otherwise, it's going to be tough on them. So I think Man United is going to win. But if things go wrong, of course, us as head watchers, your Sunderland has to win, and put the final nail in the coffin for Amorim within the international break. We know his Man United are linked with coaches like Southgate. They want Iraola to some extent. They want Oliver Glasner, Crystal Palace, who is on a 19-game unbeaten streak. They won in the Conference League the other day versus Dynamo Zagreb. Yes, I guess so. So yes, that's also another game to watch out. And we go now to my team, where it is Arsenal versus West Ham. Now, for the past, guess, 2 games, we faced West Ham at the Emirates. Mostly it was in January, after maybe between the FA Cups, where we have lost several players. We're having injuries here and there, or maybe we just find it hard getting past West Ham. We might go to their ground, score 5, score 6, score 4 goals. Like, it's easy for us to go and win there at their ground. Now, when it comes to coming back to at the Emirates, they won last season 1-0, and that was it. The previous season, they won 2-0, and David Raya saved a last-minute penalty. It was about to go 3. So let me just grab water, because I've never talked for this long. Yeah, so this now that we got points from St. James Park, we got points where we needed to get points, where we were losing, for example, versus Man City. With the squad that we have, with the rotations that we make, Odegaard is performing well, Martinelli is scoring now, Saka is back, he scored the other day in the Champions League. Merino is putting in some shifts. I don't know so much about Merino, whether he starts better or gets from the bench better, but he's doing well. Zubimendi is doing well. Our defense is rock solid, because we've only conceded 2 goals. One was 3 goals actually. One was a worldie free kick at Liverpool. The other one was Walter Mande, because that guy. if you watch back that goal that Newcastle scored against us, you're going to get mad to some extent, because what was Gabriel doing? But that's beside the point. And Haaland, Haaland is Haaland. Haaland already has 8 goals this season. He's probably going to score like 20 more, 30 goals. So yes, that's also another thing to watch out. I think the preferred lineup, I'll put in another video on the YouTube shorts, and you're going to find there on my preferred lineup and who we are going to see, and I'll put my match reaction on that. And then back after all the games have ended, we're going to go through, we're going to get the reactions and put this longer format. So that is always the plan. But yes, Arsenal has to win, against West Ham. We have to go to the top of the table, because the next game after ours is Chelsea versus Liverpool, the late kickoff, and most of these games, most of these games end up in a draw. Chelsea versus Liverpool. Chelsea has problems defensively. They have so many injuries. They have suspensions. They're dealing with a lot of nonsense. Don't say nonsense in quotes. And Maresca is under pressure because you have to perform well with all the money that is spent. They've spent 2 billion in like 3 years. All the money spent, all the players that you have at your disposal, a great performance against these games because they call themselves world champions. Because come on, man, what do you mean world champions? But I digress. Let's talk about the game. Yes, I see Liverpool winning. I don't think Chelsea have enough firepower to go and win against Liverpool, the current champions. The English champions. Well, they have Isak to depend on. They have Ekitike. They have Salah. Salah is if there's one player that you should never count out is Mohamed Salah. That guy can turn up instantly. He doesn't need to be seen so much in the game, but when it comes to goals and assists, although he's kind of in a drought right now, but when it comes to goals and assists, he needs to. He will definitely hurt your club, so you have to be very, very careful while facing him. In terms of the far part, the good Florian Wirtz isn't really scoring. Maybe he's a guy who's made the most chances in the league, or rather in all competitions, be it in the Champions League, Carabao Cup, and so on and so forth. And yeah, Liverpool will have to find a way because they lost to Crystal Palace with the last minute dagger. Because that that getting a goal sent them into painland. They couldn't really believe that they've lost. And then they went to the Champions League and lost to Galatasaray 1-0 through an Osimhen goal. And they over the past few games, for the past 7 or 8 games, they haven't really been performing very well. Their defense has been really, really vulnerable because they are conceding. They've only kept 2 clean sheets. And funny enough, they kept a clean sheet against us and Burnley. And Burnley, they had to win it late through a penalty. But in all their games, they have conceded in each of their games. Now that they are light in defense because they only have Konate and Van Dijk and Gomez as the senior defenders. They had a new guy. I can't remember his name. Giovanni Leone or something. He got an ACL injured during a Carabao game versus Southampton. So unfortunately, he had to be subbed off. He's going to miss the rest of the season. And yeah, they have to pack up their defense. But in terms of attack, I don't think Chelsea have much because now they have Garnacho, they have Pedro Neto, they have Gittens who is not even performing really well. They have so many players at the attacking side that aren't really clicking because if Cole Palmer is not in the team, I don't think there's anyone else who's scoring. Unless maybe a player like maybe Enzo Fernandez comes up with some really amazing, goals that he does for the team. So yeah, it's not looking good on their side. It's not looking good at all, at all, at all. But they have to find a way to win. It's not like they are going to, let Liverpool roll over them. But a draw is a good result. But if I don't see any way Chelsea are going to win, unless they score so many goals and find a way to defend, because as much as Liverpool can't defend, they have a really great attack, and Chelsea doesn't have the really great defense, and they have to keep their discipline and not collect red cards left, right, and center. So yes, that is one game that they have to find a way. They have to really find a way to win. But if they can't, a draw is a good result for all of us because that means Arsenal is going to stay top. Of course, we just goal difference and you can be able to keep up. That's if we win against West Ham. That is the only requirement that we have to remain on top of the table. So basically, that's just it. So yes, I only predict a draw maybe, But it's tough. I think Liverpool are going to win. I don't think Liverpool is going to lose so many points at this point, because losing two games on the bounce, and now losing, potentially losing the third one. And also Chelsea lost last week versus Brighton. Yeah, it's going to be a long one, so they have to find a way to win. That is basically what they're supposed to do. And yeah, I think a draw is a good result, but either way, Liverpool will find a way to win. It's in their DNA. They've been winning games. Watching their games this season has been terrible, but because they always find a way to win. Losing the past two games has seen another side of them. So I hope Chelsea does something. But if they can't, well, too bad for them. More problems for Maresca. Liverpool continue because they are the champions. They have to be respected, and they know that if Arsenal win their game, the pressure is on them now. That is basically it. Because now we saw what happened last season. If a team goes up and continues to be consistent while other teams take points off each other, then catching up with the first team or the second team is really, really tough. So yes. Well, the other games are Everton versus Crystal Palace. Everton haven't been really performing well. They drew their last game versus West Ham on Monday. Through a Jared Bowen late. Not, it wasn't really late, but it was, they were leading and they couldn't keep a clean sheet. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, are on a 19-game unbeaten streak, and they don't seem like they're going to lose at all. So yes, I see Crystal Palace winning. They're in good motions. You know, they are moving well. I don't know whether the game on Thursday that they had to travel all the way to Ukraine to play, whether it will affect them. But yeah, I don't think they will lose. So probably Crystal Palace is going to win. And we come to my other favorite team. Just a disclaimer: wherever I come from, I am allowed to support two teams, maybe in the league. Not necessarily support them because I'm an Arsenal fan. If you've seen previous of my videos, I always rock a Newcastle shirt. I think they look good. I think Newcastle is a decent team. I think they have really good players. I love the coach. I love some players like Gordon. I love him. Walter Madi is a good shout. Bruno Guimaraes. Like, they have a really decent team, and they won. I think it was versus Club Brugge on Wednesday in the Champions League. They won 4-0, so after losing to Arsenal, so they have to pick up points, and they are facing Nottingham Forest. On the other hand, Nottingham Forest, the new manager, Big Ange, Big Ange mates, hasn't won a game ever since he's only drawn, but he hasn't won a game. He's on a losing streak, and the other manager was fired because he was on a losing streak. So put it into perspective now. He's under pressure because if he loses against Newcastle at St James Park on Sunday, yeah, it's going to be a long international break for him, because with Mr. Marinakis, as they call him, I think he's going to fire him whether he does well or not. He doesn't really care. He does not really care. He won't fire him, and that's it. That's basically it. If he does not perform, he has to find a way to get a point there. But at St. James Park, as we've seen, you have to be, you have to be. The goal, or rather to win at St. James, it has to be very, very special. You saw what Liverpool did at the last minute with that young kid Bumoha, while they were playing with 10 men. So also Arsenal, the Gabriel header came very late in the game. Nottingham Forest, they are really poor defensively. They aren't making so many chances. They have so many new players to integrate. The coach with his motherboard football, they have to find a way. So yeah, I think Newcastle is going to win. So it won't be as easy, but yes, the pressure is on Nottingham Forest to win, but with Newcastle, they'll have to rack up points now this season. They only considered against two teams, which is Arsenal and Liverpool. The other teams have managed to keep a clean sheet. Yes, so I also would like to see Elanga play and probably score against his former club. That's also another thing to look out for. So yes, Newcastle versus Nottingham Forest. Newcastle will win. Yeah, I don't see Nottingham Forest coming up with anything unless something goes really wrong, which I don't see happening. So yes, Newcastle will win. On to the next game is Wolves versus Brighton. Um, Wolves got a point versus Spurs. Last week they were winning, but a late, equalizer from Paulinho took some gas out of them. They haven't been really performing really well. They aren't scoring goals. They are conceding in every single game. They are poor defensively. They are bottom of the league. They look like relegation candidates at this point. So, will Brighton now? Brighton is one of those teams. They win some games, they lose some games. I don't know how they'll perform against. I haven't watched. I haven't watched most of the game. I only get to see highlights and get to connect with some Brighton fans or on X. So yeah, I think they're going to win at Wolves. It's called the Molineux Stadium. Yes, I think Brighton will win. Yeah, I don't really have so much analysis on that game, but it's going to be not necessarily a very good watch, but it will be interesting to see how they'll perform Wolves. But yeah, Wolves look terrible. Wolves look like giving up on the league per se. But let's see, it's a long season, so yeah, Brighton is going to win. The other game is Aston Villa versus Burnley. Well, with Burnley now, as much as they are from the Championship, as much as they were promoted last season, um, they look, I don't know, they look like they have something in them. They look like they can produce a moment of magic from somewhere. I don't know where, but they have to find a way. They'll have to find a way to score a goal because with Aston Villa, they had a really poor start. They hadn't won a game in like 5 or 6, but they have won like their first 3 games. They won against Fulham. They won their Europa League match. Who was they against? Um, I think let me just check who are they playing. Man, trying to remember these things offhand is quite a challenge. Yes. So looking at the games, yes, they played versus Feyenoord. They won 2-0. Their first Europa League match, they won 1-0 versus Bologna. Or they drew versus Sunderland. Yeah, they haven't been really having good results. But yeah, they've been trying. They've been trying to. Yes, they won against Fulham. Yes, so yes, they are up and there about. But with Unai Emery still trying to, they were Champions League quarterfinalists last season, so it's not like they are really a small team. So yes, they're going to find a way to win, I guess, versus Burnley. It's just a matter of how they're going to win and when they're going to win. Yes, I think Aston Villa is going to win versus Burnley. Not convincingly, but since they're at home advantage. Unless they have injuries, because I saw Martinez maybe was a doubt of the game. So for the game, and yeah, it's one of those games that yeah, just pastime. Just watch it, check the results. Yeah, so Villa won, blah blah blah. We call it a day. And now to the last game of the weekend, that is Brentford versus Man City. Brentford, as much as they won against Manchester United, they were really vulnerable against them. They were getting they aren't really good defensively, and Man City is Man City. They'll always be there around. And if you have a player like Haaland in your team, you're guaranteed of goals. You're guaranteed of chaos in the box. We have players like Doku, Foden is there, Nico Riley, which a player whom I really like. Uh, we have reindeers. Yeah, that is one of those games that if you try and hit watch, you're going to feel bad because Man City are going to be whipping these guys left, right, and center. I don't know. Brentford, I don't think they have a chance against Man City. Well, you can never say anything about anybody in the league, but one of their manager, their manager, who was probably their set piece manager, was under pressure while starting. So, he was one of the few managers who were poised to be, to be. They were told like they were one of those managers who are going to be fired fast, and he's lasted this long, so maybe he's doing something. But against Man City, it's tough. It's tough because now Man City, and depending on how the Arsenal game versus West Ham goes, and how the Chelsea versus Liverpool game goes, yes, they'll be wanting to take advantage of this moment and catch up with the points. Because if you look at the league table as it stands, well, Liverpool are there with 15 points, played 6 matches. Bournemouth are second with played 7 matches, and then Arsenal are third with 13 points. With Man City, they are seventh currently with 10 points. If they win their game, they go up to 13 points. Depending on, yes, they go up to 13 points. So they'll close the gap between Liverpool by 2 points. If Liverpool lose, if they win, I see the gap remains the same with 5 points. If Liverpool draw, they also close that gap to like 3 points. So yes, Man City will also be under pressure to win because yes, they have to get points. They have to be back in the title race officially now because, in my opinion, I think it's going to be a three-horse race between Liverpool, Arsenal, and Man City at some point, depending on fitness and how other teams perform. Those are the three teams that look like they're going to challenge for the league in the long run. Maybe from Christmas, they are going to be able to see the difference on the table. Because, yes, I remember people saying Chelsea is going to be title challengers and all. I'm like, nah, these guys ain't shit. No, they ain't going to do anything in the league. So yes, these are the games for the weekend. I will check the predictions, and also if you play fantasy football, we are going to make actually a podcast on that, and I'll be able to share a link where you can join my fantasy mini league, and we can share ideas. So Semenyo has given me some good 15 points today, which is good. Now I'm waiting for Haaland and some other players. So yes, we'll talk about. We have also an international break that is coming up. So there's also a lot to talk about in terms of fantasy football, in terms of English Premier League, in terms of the injuries that exist, how teams are performing, and predictions. Football chat, I'll be able to have a guest. I'm promising a guest talk about football and what exactly we need as fans to enjoy the game in general. But yeah, so yes, thank you so much. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. This has been nice. This has been it's good. Remember, this is episode what? I think it's episode 3 or 4. But I remember to be numbering them. Yes. Those on Spotify, I'll find a way to get more content there because I've been using the same platform, trying to balance both of YouTube and Spotify. But we'll see. We'll see how that works. So yes, thank you so much for your time. If you've reached this far, we're going to come back. I guess on Monday or Sunday evening. Yes, basically on Monday. Yeah, the reviews of how the games goes. I'll be giving out the short videos, on the match reactions and how it goes. These longer formats, we can be able to talk about something in general and how the teams are performing. What went wrong, what went right, etc. etc. So yes, thank you so much. Be blessed, and I guess I'll be seeing you soon.